Chapter 62, Confrontation. The trophy is gripped tight in my fist as I walk across the grass. My feet are moving, but I can't feel the ground. Out of the corners of my eyes, I can see the houses and some people in their gardens, but the only thing I see clearly is Grandad's front door. I stop at his gate and gather my breath. My phone buzzes again. It'll be Jake telling me not to do it, but he's too late because I'm already at Grandad's front door. I raise my hand to knock, then stop. What if I disturb him? He might be packing up things into a suitcase. Someone from the GFG might be in there with him, giving him new identity papers to help him escape. But I have to knock, because even if Grandad has done those things, I want to see him one last time before he leaves. I knock on the door and peer through the glass, waiting for Grandad's silhouette to appear in the hall, but there's nothing. I put my head against the door, listening for the boom of the TV or the brass band music playing in the kitchen. Still nothing. Weird. Maybe he's already left, or my imagination has gone wild and he's just out the back doing some gardening or working in his shed. I walk round the side of the house and stop on the patio. The shed is closed and there's no sign of Grandad in the garden. I try the back door handle. It turns and I slowly open the door. Samson squeezes in front of me and runs to his bowl. The kitchen is quiet and there's a half-drunk cup of tea on the worktop. Grandad never leaves tea. I wonder if he's had one of his turns and gone to bed to recover. My blood thuds in my ears as I walk into the hallway. I listen for Grandad, his radio, his TV, but all I hear is my breath and the tick of the clocks. "Grandad," I shout. "It's me, Felix." My voice echoes up the stairs. Still nothing. He's really disappeared, just like Lionel Steiner did all those years ago. But he'd never have gone without his car. And he'd at least leave a note for Mum and Dad. And after all the things he said about trust and honesty, there's no way he'd have left me without saying goodbye. I turn and walk into the dining room. The chess set is on the table with all the pieces on their squares ready for a game. I look to my left. My heart stops. Grandad's sitting in his chair in the dark. I wait for him to say something, but his head is back on the cushion and his eyes are closed. He's asleep. He hasn't packed his bags and left after all. I step towards him with my trophy behind my back. I don't want to give him a shock, but I have to wake him up to find out the truth. Samson's collar jangles as he walks through the hallway. I stop. Grandad opens his eyes and blinks in the dark. "Ah, there you are, Felix," he says, smiling. "I've been waiting for you for ages, but I must have dropped off." I know, Grandad," I stammer. I was tired and I couldn't get up." My trophy digs into my fingers. I thought that this would be the happiest moment, but my head is so mixed up with Stassi and spies that all I want to do is cry. I look down at the ground. "Hey," Grandad pushes himself out of his chair. "It is okay if you lost, as long as you tried your best." I shake my head as he walks towards me. "No, Grandad," I mumble. "It's not that. I won." I pull my trophy slowly out from behind my back. "I won." "You have won!" Grandad's face lights up like it's been hit by the sun. "You have won! Felix, I am so proud of you." He puts his hand on my shoulder and shakes me. "Very proud. But why aren't you happy?" "I know," he says. "It's the adrenaline. It has left you tired like it used to do to me. Sometimes after a big game, I would sleep for 2 days." I nod like it could be that, but it's not. I want to say something now, but Grandad's got the trophy in his hands and is smiling at it like he's won himself. I force a smile as Grandad walks over to the sofa. "Come and sit here," he says, tapping the seat beside him. "Tell me all about it." I want to tell him that I know who he is, but my tongue is as twisted as my thoughts in my head. I have to say something. I have to say it now. I take a deep breath, but I could suck air in like a whale and it wouldn't help. After all our falling out and then making up by the tree, Grandad said that we need to trust each other and that we can talk about anything, but I can't talk about this. I sit down beside him. Tell me everything, says Grandad. Don't leave out any details. I'm interested to know everything as I have been stuck in this room. I stare at the floor. If I don't start talking soon, he's going to guess there is something wrong. And if I tell him about the tournament, maybe he will tell me on his own. After all, he's told me lots of things lately that I never knew, but nothing as big as this. Eventually, my words start to come out. I tell him it took 2 hours to get to Birmingham and I ate sandwiches and drank plenty of water. And when we got to the school, it was massive and looked like Hogwarts, and he smiles and tells me he doesn't know what that is. And as I explain, I find myself thinking that he looks too kind and friendly to be a Stasi commander. But then, I've never met one, so how could I know? It would be easier if I'd found out he was a secret Arabian night that turned into a cheetah or a leopard. At least I could look at his skin for evidence of his spots or stripes. But there's nothing, not even a number tattooed to his wrist or hand. He's just the same old Grandad, who's smiling at me as I tell him I lost the second game because my opponent was eating Doritos, then nodding approvingly as I tell him the moves I made in the rest of the games. Wonderful, says Grandad, leaning forward. Now, the final. Tell me about the final. He rubs his hands together like he's warming them by a fire. This is when I have to tell him I know. After I tell him I used his move, that's when I tell him I know he's Commander Steiner. But I can't do it. It was just another game, Grandad, I say. Nonsense, he says. A final is not just another game. I lump back against the cushions. What's wrong? Asked Grandad. Is there something you're not telling me? Did your opponent just concede? This is fine if he did. It means you won the game with your mind. No, Grandad, I say. It's not that. What is it then? I swallow hard. Grandad, I got cornered and I was desperate. I was trapped. And I used the special move, the Yugoslav attack. Good, says Grandad. But why are you so unhappy? I take a deep breath, then another. Felix, Grandad leans in front of me. Because I know who you are, I blurt. You taught me the Spreebogen variation. There's only one person who's ever used that move. I know you're Commander Steiner. Who? Grandad looks up at me. Commander Steiner, a commander in the Stasi. Look, it says here. I reach into my pocket and show Grandad my phone. See? Grandad fumbles for his glasses, but his hands are shaking so much he can hardly find his nose. I wish I hadn't started this. He might be a Stasi commander, but he's my Grandad, and I don't want to upset him any more than I have. I start to pull my hand away. No. Grandad grips my arm tightly and squints at the screen. I hold my breath as he reads the headline out loud. Youngest ever schools chess champion wins using moves of Stasi commander. What? Grandad pulls the screen closer. Felix Scope beat off strong challengers from schools all over the country using the Spreebogen variation of the Yugoslav attack, a move only ever used by the former East German secret police commander Lionel Steiner. Grandad leans forward. Commander Steiner? He whispers. I never thought I'd have to say his name again. My heart beats as fast as a rabbit's. I wish I could take it back, but it's too late now. I'm sorry, Grandad, I say. I didn't want to believe it, but you mentioned the Spreebogen when you told me about your sister, and I saw his name on the cards in your wardrobe. No, it is wrong, Grandad snaps. It is wrong. This is wrong. He jabs his finger on the screen. This is not what happened. He stole my move. Steiner stole the Spreebogen variation from me.